benefit of those who are looking at it for the first time, our barcode solution is essentially designed to extend Sage 300 to our frontline users. So without our barcode solution, what typically happens on a client side is as transactions happen, for example, goods receipts, OE shipments, stock transfers, stock counts, people have to write it on a piece of paper, pass it off to somebody in the back office to post. And then if this happens, there is an efficiency issue. There are two sets of people doing the same task. There is a time delay, something that has happened earlier today could only reflect in Sage maybe in the afternoon. There could be an accuracy issue. So somebody writes seven, somebody sees it as a four. So those kinds of issues, if we're talking about lots and serials, it's even more difficult to do. And then lastly, when it comes to turnover of personnel, when we need to train up somebody on how to use Sage 300, it becomes a bit harder without the mobile devices. So the desktop screens are much harder to train rather than using a simple app screen where the warehouse people just needs to point scan and then post transactions. So those are the basic reasoning why we need our barcode solution. Now, in terms of features, so this is just to highlight the core functionality of barcodes. So yes, as you can see, we cover all of the core functionality of Sage 300. So that means purchasing, sales, shipments, and returns, stock count, manufacturing, shop floor control. Uh, we have even added features on top of the core basic standard function of Sage, such as pick list, packing, and later on, I'll also show you some of the new features like pending receipts. Now, another key feature that we have added on top of 300 is the support for GS1 or HIBC barcodes. So this is referring to global barcode standards, wherein you can see instead of scanning individual barcodes like item code, lot number, serial number, what we would do is use a GS1 label, which actually combines all of it into one scan. So the benefit here, as you can see, is faster processing, more accurate capturing of data using global standards. Now, before I go to the product itself, I'll also take this chance to quickly list through what has changed in version 7.3 or 2026. So just recently we have released our version 7.3 or 2026, and this is just to show you what you can expect to see today in terms of new features. So I will show you later today pending receipts. So this is on top of the standard Sage purchase, receiving, and returning. We have also added a packing function. So aside from being able to pick in version 7.3, we are also able to pack. So it will become a pick pack routine if we want it to be. We also support chatting. So with our new chat module, as we post transactions in barcode, we are now also able to trigger an automated chat message to maybe advise or follow up the to the next user what needs to happen for that transaction. We now also support lot serial optional field entry. So for of you who are very familiar with Sage 300, you would know that Sage does not allow us to input or update optional fields at the lot serial level during transaction. So this used to be done on the lot serial item screen of Sage, but with barcode, we are now exposing this, and users can actually update or input during receiving, shipping, or any other transaction in Sage 300. And lastly, we just enhanced the text capture of OCR for barcode. So you could use, let's say, a mobile phone or a tablet, open the camera, and let the system read the text and try to capture the information into a transaction in Sage, maybe, for example, a PO receipt. So that's just a quick listing of what has been added or changed in version 7.3. So with that, let me now just end the slideshow and go back to the actual app itself. So for today, what I want to do in this training is just to start from the very beginning. So I want to show you how easy it is to activate and set up barcode. From there, we can then show you how to post transactions. We can introduce features, functionality of barcode, and then we can make our way to the new features added in version 7.3 so that you can see it live today. So I won't go through the full installation anymore. That would take a little bit of time, but I would just want to highlight that everything that you need to do to install, set up BarCode is actually in our installation guide. So you can just go through this step-by-step installation process. But I just need to highlight a couple of things here. First, because our barcode is an app, so that means we are running off a web server. So this is on top of the standard Sage 300 uh, application server and database server that you might be familiar with. So there will be a web server, but this is not new. As you are probably aware, Sage has been developing and releasing their web screens. So that means they are also using IIS web services. So from an installation point of view, it just means that we need to install Windows IIS. This document highlights the specific features in IIS that we need. So this is all part of Windows, and this is something that your IT guy would be doing. But we need the web services to be up and running prior to the installation step. So after that, it's just straightforward Sage 300 standard installation. So the installer would create our program file. You would just then proceed to download our app. So the last thing I just need to highlight here is after the installation, the deployment mode, because it is an app, is to go through an app store. So whether we are using a Android device, an Apple device, or a Windows device, we essentially need to go to the corresponding app store to download the app and connect it to the Sage web server. So I'll demonstrate that in a little while. But going back to Sage, right now I'm just showing you the standard Sage 300 sample database, SAM LTD. So barcode has not yet been activated, so that's where we will be starting. And if I go through the Sage 300 program path, this is just, of course, to show you that we have already installed inventory barcode 7.3. Just like any standard Sage 300 program, it will have a ID 7.3A folder. And if we now go into the admin services data activation routine of Sage, I would now be able to uh, effectively activate inventory barcode 7.3. So here, uh, I'm just looking for inventory barcode 7.3. Next, activate. So this is now adding our barcode module to the system of Sage 300. And you now see here inventory barcode already activated for this company. Up to this point, this is standard Sage 300 deployment mode. What I want to highlight next is in terms of the ease of use and ease of implementation. for inventory barcode. The only thing that we need to do to start using the solution is actually just to define our users, set up security, and make sure that the web service config has been maintained. So the web service config part, this is part of the installation process, a little bit IT related or network connection related. So you can see here how we are essentially defining which server is the SQL database server, which server is the web server, which contains the IIS. How do we talk to the SQL database? So this would be the SQL user ID password. And this is now the super user ID that is assigned for barcode. In my demo environment, I'm just using admin, but of course, in the real production environment, this should be a special super user ID that we define for barcode. So, for example, we would call it barcode, and it has to have all of the corresponding rights in Sage to be able to post the underlying core functionality of 300. So this is just user ID and password, and we would be able to test the connection to SQL, test the connection to Sage, and here we also have built in a utility to test for common issues. So just in case you encounter some difficulty in your installation, do run this test for common issues. It will generate a log file. It will try to identify what could be wrong with the setup. You can share this file with us so that we can help you. But essentially, this is all it takes to connect to the web server. Now, going back to the user master here,
This ain't just for just us.
and then one thing that we want to highlight or we need to highlight here is this is a different user ID from that of Sage user. So for those who are again very familiar with Sage, you know that under the admin services, there's a user master. This user master in barcode is actually referring to the barcode user, the frontline user. The Sage user are back office desktop users. Any number of barcode users only share one LAN pack or one user license of Sage 300. This is how we are extending Sage 300 to the front lines. So instead of one supervisor posting, let's say, PO receipts or stock counts, we are now able to use barcode to create 10, 20, 30, 50 users connecting concurrently to Sage to do stock count post real time. That is effectively our goal. And this is now just to define a barcode user. So for simplicity, I'm just setting up user ID 1, password 1. I can just save this. We'll leave the setup here for later. The next key step is to assign security to the user. So now for user 1, I want to assign which rights to this user. Can he receive? Can he ship? Can he do stock count? And the likes. So obviously, all of this functionality is controlled by our license file in barcode. So just to quickly share with you, the barcode license contains which barcode module was purchased for this client, as well as how many concurrent barcode users are assigned to the client. So in this case, I'm running a demo license. I have all of the modules activated with 5 users. But of course, this flexibility in Sage 300 allows us to start small. So if our client maybe just wants to start off with using barcode processing on purchase receiving, that means they can opt to purchase only barcode PO initially. with maybe a number of barcode user licenses, one or two. That is already enough to do barcode PO receiving. And when they are ready, they can add OE, they can add IC. If they have, of course, our manufacturing shop floor control, that's covered. If they are using serialized inventory in Sage, then they need barcode lot serial. If they are using ORCID bin tracking, for example, then they also need a corresponding barcode bin tracking. So the key thing to highlight on the licensing side of it is that the barcode module does not replace any Sage module or third-party module. It only extends it to the frontline user. So if the client needs bin tracking, for example, they need to buy ORCID bin tracking. And then on the barcode side, make sure that they also purchase barcode bin tracking. This would allow us to track bins as we do transactions in Sage. So that's just on the license side. But at this point, we have already set up the user master, user security. We have the web service configured already. This allows us actually to already log on to Sage and post transactions. Now, on the app side, we do need to download the app. I've already downloaded it on my machine. So today I'll just quickly show you that if, let's say, I'm using my laptop or PC to connect to Sage, then I should be just looking at the Microsoft Store and find, let's say, AutoSimply barcode to download and install on my device. If I have a new Android handheld or phone that I want to use for barcode, then you need to go to Google Play Store, download the app. If I want to use my iPhone, my iPad to do it, then I would need to go to Apple Store and download the app. So for Apple, we only require iOS 9 or later. For Android, we only require Android 7 or later. And then for Windows, we only require Windows 10 or 11 as the client operating system. And that already allows you to use the barcode solution. So as you can see, the system, our solution gives you a free range of options as to how we want to scan post transactions to 300. It could be a mobile device, phone, tablet, or handheld computers to do the transaction. It could even be a laptop PC with maybe a barcode gun attached to it. Create a counter type environment where people are picking things and bringing it to a counter. That's another option. It depends on how you want to do it. But at the end of the day, once we download the app, so let me just open the app now. So this is the Windows app that I'm going to show you. The very first thing that we need to do is connect it to our server. So that would be through the setting button on the upper right hand corner, wherein we are essentially saying what is the path to the web server for Sage 300. Right now, because I'm just running the server on my laptop and the app is on my laptop as well, that means I can just put in localhost and connect to Sage 300. On a production live environment, because we're talking about warehouse people working within their own warehouse floor, the only thing you might need is a good Wi Fi connection and then the IP address of the web server within your local area network. So that could be how simple it could be for the deploying of barcode on your warehouse. If you have multiple warehouses, let's say I have a warehouse uh, in Hong Kong, another warehouse in Singapore, or maybe in Toronto and Vancouver, then I could turn on HTTPS. Of course, this requires that you have all of the necessary security firewalls on your web server. But this technically allows you to connect anytime, anywhere. Somebody from Hong Kong could post a receipt in New York if we allow it. And of course, you always have the option to use VPNs to create your own private local area network to connect to. But essentially, this is how we are connecting. At this point, if we are to simulate our user to connect, so let me just highlight something here. So notice that this is TST001. So that's the company. And this is now the company that we are logging into. Uh, One last thing before I log in. Notice that on the bottom left-hand side of the app screen, we are displaying always the app version and the web service version in use for barcode. So for support queries, this is a critical information that you should be sharing with us. So if you encounter any difficulty, any challenge, for us to be able to check properly, we need to know which app version is in use on that device, as well as what web service version is running on 300 web server. So these two sets of information is something that is critical for support. And it tells you if you are using the latest version of barcode with Sage 300. So at this point, this is now the main screen of the barcode app. You can see here a barcode PO. You have PO receiving, return. Notice now that in version 7.3, there is a new pending receipt option. So we'll talk about that in a little while. On the right-hand side, you have the barcode OE. So that's sales shipments, sales returns. Notice how we have added here pick list processing and packing. So that is again something on top of the Sage 300 out of the box functionality. Uh, we'll talk about that a bit later as well. I can do stock counts. We can do stock transfers in Sage. We have internal usage. So those are core transactions in 300. For IC extended tab, you can see that I can do IC receipts, IC shipments. If you are doing any simple assemblies in Sage, we can do IC assembly, disassembly as well. We have inquiries to go with it, so we can do stock inquiries. We can do pending receipts, pending shipment inquiries, and then the last tab here is PJC. So in case you are using Sage Project Job and Costing, we are also able to do uh, material usage, material returns. All right. So with that, let me now just go back to the main screen. Let me just double check if everything is connected. Rob, just to double check, you can still see my screen, right?
Yes, everything's clear.
Okay. Perfect, perfect. I suddenly worried that I'm talking to myself. Okay. All right. Going back to barcode app. So to give you a feel of how the barcode module would work, what I would do is just do some basic quick transactions within Sage. So the first one, which we typically do for demonstrations, would be a PO receipt. So just to show you that there's nothing special about it, I'll just do a quick PO entry in Sage 300. I'll just create two lines here. So maybe one for A11030, which is our favorite desk lamp item. And to show you the effect on lot serial tracking, I'll also do an item with lots. I'll just make it a bit bigger so we can do partial receipts as well. So I just make it into 20s and then post. So this is now a PO75 in 300. And going now to the barcode app, if I were the warehouse man, I can just click on PO receipt. This is now the warehouse man looking for which PO to receive against. So if I know the PO has a 5 somewhere there, I can just filter through open POs, see which POs can be received. So I can see 75 already. Another way would be if I know who the vendor is. So maybe as the vendor is backing up, I recognize that this is Coastal. I can then select the vendor record and then look for open POs to receive against that vendor. Uh, Also, this screen allows us to combine POs. So if this vendor has more than one PO open, I can combine them into one receipt. So these are all standard 300 functionality. What we are just changing is how we are doing it, on what device we are using to connect, and who is doing it. So at this point, I can see for PO75, I have these two items that I need to receive. Notice that I can search for items to receive against this PO. Ideally, we are scanning the item off the boxes using their labels. I can scan it off the PO form as well if needed. Alternately, I can also just click on a line. Since I'm using now a mobile device, this normally would be a touchscreen interface, and I can just click on a line as I go along. But to simulate a scan, let's say I A110030, enter. This is now the item that we are receiving. I can indicate here quantity being received. So let's just do a partial one, 10. And you can see now that there is a change in color to indicate to the user that this has been partially received. If, let's say, we are dealing with an item with lots, the system would be asking us for lot numbers. So ideally, we're again scanning the lot off the boxes. But in standard Sage, you know that we can auto-generate. So let's say I want to create a receipt of 10 with two lots. This is now auto-generating. So now you can see we have created lot 26 and 27, 5 each, and then I can click on OK. So again, this would be a partial receipt for that item. Just to take one step back, notice that on the lot serial screen, there is actually a load CSV option. So that means if the vendor provides us with a list of serial numbers or lot numbers to be received, we can actually just import it rather than scanning one by one, assuming we want to do that, of course. And then another key thing to highlight on the item detail screen is notice that there is an info button on the right top corner of the screen, wherein I can click info, and this actually triggers a stock inquiry. So this is now an item inquiry, stock inquiry. I can see details of this item, this calculator. I can open optional fields within the item master of Sage just to check or look at information about this item. We can do stock inquiries. What is the status of the stock? I can look at open POs, open SO or MOs for this item. So it's a stock inquiry that I can trigger while doing a transaction. If I wanted to add or change quantity to be received, I can always add two more or change total to 8. However, whatever direction I'm doing with the input, it's possible. You can already see the optional field uh, options here. So if we have defined optional fields in Sage, whether it's a PO header, PO item detail, or as I said, lot detail, we can enter it in barcode. It's just following the setting in Sage. On the document details tab, I can put in description, reference, comments that I want. We teach the users to always review. This is just to give them a chance to check whether they are receiving or doing the correct entries for that transaction. If everything looks good, I can then eventually post, and that would be a PO receipt transaction already posted to 300. So receipt 128 is exactly the same as a user going into Sage, receipt entry, and posting a receipt in 300 with, let's say, lot serial information. So this is what we just did using the handheld. Now you can see the description, the reference, the comments being fed into this receipt as you would expect in 300. So that one transaction involving PO receipt would remain true across all of the transactions in Sage. So we essentially use the same flow, the same scanning method, the same input method to do any transaction in 300. So maybe just to show you the opposite end of it, let's do a quick shipment. So let's go now into Sage order entry and just create a sample SO for us to ship. So again, this is my customer, which location, item. Let's use the same two items a while ago. Maybe I want to sell 20 of this and 20 of that and post. So this is now SO112 in Sage. And let's go back to the app. This time, do a shipment. Again, notice I can search by document. I can search the customer and look for a document to ship. But if I know that it is 112, I can just type in search directly for that document or any document with 112 and drill down to the item details. So this is now what we need to ship. And then I can click on a line, input the quantity I want to ship, let's say 10. Uh, for the lot tracked item, when I click on the line, ideally I am scanning which specific lot or serial am I picking to be shipped against the sales order. Even without the barcode labels to scan, there's always a search option. So I can search across open lots in Sage with balances, I mean, and then maybe pick two here, two there, and then another two from this particular lot. And this is now allowing us to pick three lots to each. And then that would be a partial shipment. So I can again put document details like tracking number, ship via information, desk reference, comment, but these are just standard to Sage. I can review and eventually post. So this would now be an OE shipment posted by the warehouse man on the floor real time to 300. So this shipment 107 would be exactly the same as a user going into Sage order entry, shipment entry. And if we look at the last record right now, that would be shipment 107, 10 pieces, 6 pieces with the matching lot detail. All right. So that's how easy it is to post a barcode transaction. And with the setup that we have just done, I hope it also came across that it's actually also very easy to set up. So our products are almost designed to be plug and play. So uh, we are reading the data directly from Sage 300. So the item master, the customer master, the documents are all within Sage 300. We are just changing who is doing the transaction, using what device, and then letting it be posted real time. Now, the next quick thing I wanted to highlight here is if we now go into, I'll do another a different kind of transaction this time, just so that you get a different feel of each transaction of Sage. Let's say internal usage. So this is now an example of a transaction where there is no base document. So I can actually put in a description reference used by who. In Sage, we have an option for category code to be changed. So I can leave it as default or just or change it for this particular transaction. But at this point, I am now doing a internal usage against warehouse one. I can then just directly scan the item I am going to consume for internal usage. Now, what I want to do quickly is also show you the option of activating quick scan in barcode. So this is applicable across all transactions in barcode. The idea here is what we want to do as a mode of input is let the warehouse man scan each item, each box, each piece separately, and let the system just aggregate, increment to capture what has been scanned. So to simulate, for example, it is A11030. You can see that it did not ask the user anymore how much was being transacted. It's always assumed to be one. It allows us to then scan the next item. So let's say it's A11050, then that is there. If I scan another A11030, the system would know to just increment automatically. So that is quick scan. And of course, nothing is stopping us from clicking on the line, changing the quantity. So I can add one more for a total of two, or maybe input total of five, and then click OK. So this is now 5 units of A11050. Another thing to highlight here is the option to change units of measure. So because we don't have a source document that dictates the unit of measure in Sage anymore, the user is free to change what unit of measure to use. Of course, these are all defined in 300 for the item, and it's just an option for the user to change during the transaction. Now, the last thing here is notice that I also have an option for a new line. So if you want to, you can actually set up the scanning so that every scan is a separate line. Oh, sorry. It's usually done together with the quick scan. So A11030, you can see that it's actually creating a separate line. So this would simulate what you typically see maybe in a grocery counter or a 7-Eleven convenience store, where every piece that you are buying appears as a separate line on the receipt. So we can simulate that if we want to on the barcode. Again, before we post, we would ask the user to review, and then for internal usage, we do have the option to either save or post. So this is, of course, because as you probably are aware, in the internal usage screen of Sage, we do have save and post as an option. So if I post, this would trigger the posting of the internal usage. If I had chosen to save, then that means somebody in the back office can check and will have to post it using the standard desktop screen. But at this point, we have already posted internal usage 2. And if I go back now to Sage, look for the last record, this is exactly what we have just done using the barcode app. All right. Now, very quickly, I'll also show you transfer. So this is just to simulate stock transfers in 300. Uh, for those familiar with inventory control, you would know that in Sage, we have a one-step transfer and a two-step transfer. So if you want somebody to transfer out and then have a different warehouse man from a different location to receive it, we call that in Sage transit transfer. So it's a two-step process But for today, I'll just keep it simple. I'll just use the one-step transfer. This is from warehouse 1 moving to warehouse 2. If I wanted to change, I can just remove that record. The system sees all of the locations in Sage. I can type, let's say, 3. This is filtering to any location with a 3. But let's now select location 3. Click on next. This is now allowing us to scan what items will be transferred. So I'll activate quick scan again. So let's say it's A11030. That's automatically one piece. If I turn off quick scan, let's say scan A1900G, this is the item with lot. So it's opening the item detail screen, allowing me to scan or select lots to be transferred. We can also allocate, of course, auto allocate in Sage if you want. But just to show you to you, I can select maybe 3 of this and 3 of that. So 3, total of 6 from 2 lots. Okay. And then again, review before eventually either saving or posting. So this would already be a stock transfer. So transfer number 2 has been created, and it would be exactly the same as an IC transfer. So this is now transfer number 2. And again, you have location 1 to location 3, and then the requested quantity. Uh, sorry, I meant the transfer quantity with the lot or serial details inside. So I won't go through every transaction anymore. It's the same flow consistently in barcode. Well, what I would want now to do is show you how barcode has further enhanced the features within Sage 300. So we have done it in several key places. Since the last transaction I showed you was transfer, let me just quickly show you then a minor enhancement that we have done in barcode called transfer order. So if we go to the desktop for inventory barcode, notice that we have actually a custom, or well, not, a non-standard Sage function, which is supported in barcode, called transfer order. This allows the user to create a transfer request to be processed using the barcode app. So for example, here, just very quickly, I'll create an item transfer request from location 1 to location 4 for 10. I'll just make it 2 items to make it look good, 10 each. Then this is add. So this is now transfer request number 1. And eventually, as long as the status is open, we are now able to find this and then post a transfer against it. So you might be wondering, why did we bother to create a transfer order instead of just using the stock transfer request in Sage? The quick answer to that is because in Sage standard transfer, the moment you process it, it's closed. It is not, it doesn't help you track partial transfers over time. So this transfer order document allows us to do partial transfers and then track how much of those transfers are still pending. So this is now transfer order receipt. I can then select this item. How many did we receive? I'll just do a partial receipt of 5. And then maybe for the second item, I'll do a full receipt of 10. So this is now just to show you what it would look like from a line perspective once something is fully processed. The top item is partial, the second item here has been fully transferred. I can review, eventually post. This is now a transfer for this transfer order. So transfer number three has been created, but I can go back to that transfer order. I only have one right now, so it will just directly drill down to that. And the system is still able to see that there is a pending five for this item that I can then proceed to receive. So this is uh, something on top of the standard transfer of Sage. So that means when we were talking about transfers, there's actually now three types of transfers. Uh, a one-step transfer, the standard transit transfer of Sage, and we have actually added a transfer order function within the IC. Now, of course, there's a fourth one called bin transfer, but that would only be enabled if we have bins in Sage via the Orchid add-on product. So if you're using Orchid bin tracking, just know that you are covered in BarCode. We can record the transfer of items from one bin to another bin within the same location or a different location. So the put and the pick functions involving bins are covered by BarCode. All right. Now, before I go to the other enhancements that we have added on top of the barcode module, one quick thing that I want to touch on is how does the system know which item correspond to which barcode. So this is for the benefit of those maybe who are not familiar with barcoding and they just want to know how the system knows this information. So the quick answer to that is we actually are using the built-in manufacturer's item table in Sage 300. So if this was A11030, uh, I could add a barcode information here. So let's just say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0 as my barcode information for that item. On top of that, I can even set up in Sage that this specific barcode corresponds to a specific unit of measure. So if I save this, this information now allows me to transact within the barcode module. So for if we go back, this time around, let's do a IC shipment. So just to use different transactions and let me show how it would look like. So this is now an item that I am shipping via IC in case you are using that transaction. Instead of A11030, what I want to scan now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, and the system actually knows that it is the same as A11030. And notice now that the unit of measure is a dozen, and when I say one, so this time around, we're actually shipping an a 1 dozen of that item. So I can review and post. So that's essentially how we are doing it. So all of the barcodes should be defined in IC manufacturer's item. That means your UPC, your EAN, GS1, GTIN numbers would be defined here. So it would allow you to use those barcodes not only on the barcode app, but actually even on the Sage 300 desktop screens. So it's all defined in the IC manufacturer's item. All right, so that's what the shipment we have done a while ago. And then maybe the next common question we hear from clients is, can I express my information in Sage as a real barcode uh, to be scanned in barcode app? So to answer that question, what I'll just quickly do is go to Word and then highlight the fact that barcodes essentially are just fonts. So it could be that I have this item code in Sage, this PO number, and let's say this vendor code. So all of this we can actually just convert into a barcode by applying a font. So if we're just talking about barcode 39, barcode 128, these are free to download fonts that you can get from Google, Windows, Google search. And then this is something that you can apply to Crystal. So that means all of your forms, the PO, the SO forms, you can actually express any information as a barcode if you want. Now, just a quick note here is for the barcode 39128, it does require that you add an asterisk before and after it so that it can be scanned. So that's just uh, touching upon how to create a barcode uh, within your forms. With that, let me also quickly show you how to generate a label, maybe for demo purposes. Uh, so this is, of course, not our website. It's just somebody selling software for barcodes. But it's the same concept. So if, let's say, item A11030, if I want to express that as a barcode, it just looks like this. So this is barcode 128, barcode 39. If, let's say, we were dealing with an EAN or a UPC code, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for example. Sorry, I did not select. So for EAN code, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it would look like this. So this barcode is what you would typically see on a Coca-Cola can or a water bottle. So it's a UPC EAN code that they register with a barcode global body that identifies their item code. So there are several ways of generating labels. The barcode 128, barcode 39 are free. The rest, of course, will require you some software printing software drivers to generate, just like what this website is doing. All right. And then, of course, the next question that typically would be raised is, can we print out QR codes? And of course, the answer to that is it's just a matter of using the correct software to do it. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 can be expressed as this QR code with no issue. So of course, from a report or form generation perspective, that means you may have to buy a software, something like a bartender, for example, to help you generate it and put it on a form in Sage. But you can generate the label, we can scan it. It doesn't matter to the barcode app if it's a 1D or a 2D barcode, we can scan it. All right. And later on, I'll circle back to this so that I can show and demonstrate to you how GS1 barcodes can be used to simplify our barcode scanning process. But I'll circle back to that in a little while. So just to go back to our standard functionality here. Oh, wait, while I was on that screen already. So some of you might have picked up on something already just looking at this screen. So we have shown you IC shipment. This is IC receipt, IC assembly. We have done stock transfer. We have already done a internal usage. The one transaction missing is IC adjustment. So we do not support IC adjustment out of the box. This is a transaction we think that should not be given to a warehouse man. So this is something that should be done on the back office by the cost accountants or supervisors themselves, and we don't want to expose it to the warehouse people on the floor. So that means if you're doing transactions right now in Sage from an adjustment perspective, you need to switch to either doing an IC receipt, an IC shipment, or maybe an internal usage to do that. All right. So that's just one key thing to highlight here, in case you were wondering why there was no IC adjustment option there. Now, we talked about the transfer order. That was an enhancement of the transfer functionality of Sage. Let's now talk about the new pending receipt function in barcode PO. So similarly, this is a enhancement on top of the standard barcode of the standard purchase receiving feature of Sage. So to quickly explain what it's doing, all I have to do is actually open the receipt entry screen here in Sage. So a lot of you are probably very familiar with the screen already. But the key thing to highlight here is the fact that there is no save button. So in Sage, when we do a PO receipt, it has to be posted. There is no chance to review, no chance to continue a receipt for later processing. In Sage, you are forced to post. So that is why in version 7.3 2026 for barcode, we have added a pending receipt transaction. So this is now the warehouse man being able to select I am receiving against a PO number. So if I'm creating a new receipt, or am I continuing a prior pending receipt document that I have not yet finished yet? So this allows us, for some clients, they want a one PO, one receipt policy, and this is now going to help that. For some clients, it could also be a method uh, of approval. So maybe uh, after the warehouse man has received, they need a supervisor or somebody to check and then post at a later time. So if that is the goal, that's something that can also be done using pending receipt. So let's go back to the PO75 that we created a while ago. This time around, we're not doing a receipt, rather we're doing a pending receipt. So I can see what has already been previously received in the system. I can scan or select, let's say, five of this A1103 item. And then again, for this lot, I want to auto generate maybe total of five for one lot. So I'm just doing this for simplicity's purpose, but ideally you are scanning it and putting in a quantity. At this point, maybe I need to go on a coffee break. I can just review. It's five each, and then post. So this is now creating a pending receipt document, PR1. And if we go now to barcode on the desktop, there is a pending receipt document here that allows us to uh, change quantity or verify that this is correct. I can proceed to another update of that document by calling it out as a pending receipt. So I can call out PR1. I only have one right now because we're not doing this is a clean data. Maybe for A11030, I see one more. So now it's actually six. Instead of five, I would post, and this is now updating our pending receipt document as you would expect. And on this screen, I just have to refresh pending receipt. There is an inquiry for this as well, but you can see now we have updated the quantity. Eventually, if all goes well, I can just post. This is now a supervisor confirming this is correct. I have now generated a receipt 129. And that's just going back to the pending the receipt entry screen of Sage. And then you can now see that we now have posted this 6 and 5 receipt. So that essentially is what the pending receipt function is doing. It is very useful for our clients who are doing a huge volume of receipts. So maybe, for example, the receiving of a whole container of items from the port area. So that means if I want only one PO, one receipt as a as my procedure or policy, then the pending receipt transaction can help. All right. So this is again on top of the standard Sage functionality of receiving. Now we can do roughly the same thing for shipment as well. So the same as PO receipt, in Sage OE shipment, there is no save button. So the system is forcing us to post a shipment as we are processing it. With the pick list module in BarCode, we can actually allow users to pick, save, and post a shipment at a later time once everything has been completed. So that is one objective or advantage of using a pick list. But of course, the main objective of pick list is actually to let uh, to allow a supervisor to decide on what should be picked first. So with that, let me now go back to the inventory barcode module. We are now talking about pick list. So if I go into ID pick list, there are some additional setting involved here that we can do. But the most, you can see here that a lot of these are essentially just options that we can play with. So I can choose to automatically commit quantities, for example, as we generate a pick list. So commit here is referring to the committed quantity in Sage OE. So for those of you who are using it, you know that that is referring to reservations of stock against a sales order. I can also choose to auto allocate lot serials and bins if we want to as we generate a pick list. What happens when we post a pick list that's not yet fully processed? Do we want to force only fully pick lists to be posted, and then do we sorry, so all of these are just options. Do we want to allow the user to override our allocated lots or serials within the pick list? So all of that are just options that I can save in the pick list option screen. But let's now go into sales order entry. I'll just quickly create a new order and then we can then process it for our picking. So I'll just quickly create here again the two items A11030 for location one, let's say 20 pieces, and then for A1900G, the one which is lot track, 20 pieces post. So this is now order 113 that we have created. In standard Sage, the next step is just to ship. But the pick list or the picking function is actually in between order and shipping. So if we want a supervisor to decide what should be picked first, that means I need to generate a pick list. This is the out of the box filters that we use for generating pick lists. A lot of our clients would customize this to fit their internal process. So, for example, it could be that I just want to pick based on truck routes. So, north picking versus south picking, for example. So, today, just to keep it simple, I am just filtering for sales orders we created today. I can create a pick list now. This is now pick list number one. And if we go now to the pick list screen, so I won't print it anymore to save time, but this is, you can see, pick list number one. Which items from which sales orders, by default 20. But if, let's say, I want to do partial picking, I can do that. If I want to change, you can see that we have uh, set up our system to automatically allocate lots, serials, or bins as we generate a pick list, which it has already done. I can override that if I want to, say, and you can see that the quantities are already committed. So on the Sage order side in OE, this item stock has already been committed to the sales orders. So uh, in our opinion, this is actually the correct way of using the committing function of Sage. The person who is creating the sales order, usually the salesman or the customer sales people, don't really care about which lot, serial, or items are reserved or not. So that is a warehouse manager's perspective. So the sales order is just purely order input. And then when we generate the pick list, that is the decision of what should be picked from a lot serial perspective. And since I have decided to pick it already, that's also the correct time to commit those items from a stock perspective as well. So this is now a pick list. I can eventually approve it for picking. So now it's active. If needed, I can even assign it to a specific user. So if I want to assign it to user one to pick, right now it doesn't really matter because I have only one user, but just know I can allot it to a barcode user. And now if we go back to our barcode app on the pick list, I can generate a pick, and I'll also take the chance to also show you packing. So I have to log out here and show you an option that I did not highlight a while ago. So on the device setting, notice that I have an option here to enable packing during pick list. So this option here controls whether do I want to pick and pack at the same time. So this, of course, saves time. The person who is picking is already putting it in the correct pack or containers. But if the flow of our business process is somebody has to pick first and then put it on a picked area, somebody then comes in to do the packing separately, then of course this would be turned off. And somebody in the barcode app, it will be a separate pick pack process. But for today, for the benefit of saving time, I will just put it together. So this is now pick and pack done together. So everything is saved. Let's go back to the app and log in. So this is now barcode user one. We have already generated pick list number one a while ago. This is now doing a picking. Right now, of course, when I search, there's only one document, but in the real world, I should be seeing which pick list should be open for picking. Uh, the pick list screen now is asking us, do we want to pack as well as pick? So if I don't want to, or this particular customer doesn't need packing, I can just turn it off, proceed to picking without packing. But if I want to pack, then this is now enabled. And then I could add a pack container. It could be a pallet, it could be a box. So it's, let's say, box one. And then this is now one box whereby I can go back to picking. Notice now that everything that I'm picking is going into box one. So let's say I scan A11030 for 5, and then let's say I scan A1900G, which specific lot? So ideally, I'm scanning batch 16, batch 17. Uh, if I'm not scanning, I can search, and then you can see that this is what is recommended. Depending on our setup, do we allow the warehouse man to override this or not? That's something that can be determined in our controls. But let's just say we follow it. So maybe I pick two here, but then for whatever reason, I want to pick two here. So at this point, we are allowing it. And then I can click OK. I can review. This is within box one, right? So now I can maybe, for whatever reason, start another box. So box two. So of course, the naming can be anything you want. This is now box two. And if we go back to the item, I'm now able to see that anything I scan moving forward feeds to box two. So maybe this one is only three. And then for the lot tracked item, maybe I'll just put uh, one each from these two lots. All right. And then click OK. So I can review. This is totally what has already been picked, 8 and 6. On the packing side, I can actually go to each box and look at its content. So this is box number 2. This is box number 1. And assuming all looks good, I can post at this point. Maybe it's lunchtime, I have to go on a break. So I can post this picking for pick list number 1. And if I go back now to Sage Desktop and refresh the pick list, I would be able to see that we have already picked 8 and 6. It's partially picked. If I wanted to see the pick detail, I can see exactly what was picked. Note that if bin tracking is enabled or activated, we are actually picking lot and bin as well at the same time. So this is the picking information. Uh, I can also look at it from the barcode side under the inquiry, item inquiry here. And let's say for A11030, the first item we were playing with, the stock information actually highlights as well what is currently on hand. So this is the IC stock balance. On PO, of course, on SO, but more importantly for our topic right now, for pick list. So it can also see what quantity totally has been allocated for picking, and then what quantity of that allocated pick has already been picked. So that additional layer of information from a picking perspective is available to the warehouseman. So because we haven't shipped yet, so this pick quantities and pick allocation are all still within our inventory on hand, right? Now on the back end, on the desktop side, you can also see that we have a packing list table. So we can also see for pick list number 1, which boxes are involved. I can see the detail, which items are in that box, and then for lot tracked items, which specific lot are actually in that box. So all of that is captured in the packing list setup table. So pick list is a feature that we have built on top of Sage 300. And then in version 7.3, 2026, we have further enhanced it to be able to pack as well. So it's now not only picking, it's pick pack. And of course, just to complete that demonstration of picking, eventually, let's say I come back from lunch, I go back to the pick list, still be able to find that open pick list, number 1, and continue. So maybe uh, I want to pick the balance of this. Sorry. I want to add a new box. So let's say box 3. shipped via CCT. And then now I have here items to be picked. So maybe I'll just pick all and let the system handle the picking. So this is just to complete the picking for the first item. The second item, maybe we'll just pick the balance of four from, let's say, this lot, just to complete the example, and then post. So this is now all of the picking fully picked. The green color indicates as such. And then somebody on the back end will be checking this pick list. It's fully picked, and then we can create shipment. So this is now the supervisor posting a shipment 108, and that would be exactly the same as a shipment entry in Sage. So this is what we have shipped. And for the items with lots, that's what we have already picked. Okay, so that's very, very quickly what we have been, some things that we have added on top of Sage. So just to recap quickly, so on the transfer, we have transfer order. For PO, we have the pending receipt. On the shipment end of it, we have the pick list and the packing. Before I go to another topic, I also would like to highlight that if you want uh, a hard coded, uh, well, a hard allocation of lot, that is actually possible as well in pick list. So for us to hard allocate a lot, it would require us to change the setting in IC options. So I won't do it anymore today. This is something that is controlled by Sage and we just support it. In Sage, if you wanted to, you could activate lot allocation at the SO order screen. So if you want hard allocation of lots, what you have allocated to the SO should be the one picked during the picking and shipping process. You can activate this feature. We would respect it. What is allocated during the pick list lot would then be reflected in Sage lot tracking. So I'll just quickly show you the lot number inquiry screen. So for example, for A1900G, sorry, I should be on the item A1900G. So for the partners in the room, you know that if we are talking about hard allocations of lots, it would reflect here under the quantity reserved for order. So if that is the intent or the requirement of the client, just know we can support it. So activate the lot serial allocation during order entry. You don't need to do it during the creation of the order. When we generate the pick list, we can auto allocate the lot serial, populate it in the SO automatically. That way it's hard allocated. So it's not just committing a quantity to that SO. You're actually telling the system that this specific lot serial has been allocated to that SO. All right. And in the pick list setup, so let me just go back to the barcode pick list options here. I can disable changing of lot serial. So if this checkbox has been activated, now the picker using the app or even the supervisor uh, doing the picking on a desktop, they are not allowed to change the allocation. So this is going to be very strict. What should be picked? What should be uh, consumed for that particular SO lot is to be followed. All right. So just know it can be done if we want to. So that's very quickly the picking functionality that we have added into Sage. Another very, very small enhancement, still staying on the shipment side of Sage, is serial return. So it's not very special. We know that in Sage, if you want to do a return of sales shipments, you basically do a either a shipment adjustment or a credit note in Sage, as we call it. So I won't go through it anymore today, but just know that if you do a shipment and you need to reverse it, then do a shipment adjustment via the app. If you are doing an invoice return, so what has already been invoiced, now you need to do a sales return. That would be invoice. I would be looking for the invoice to return, and I can post that in barcode. The end result is the same, a credit note generated within the OE module against either against that invoice. If it was a shipment, it would be a shipment update only. Now, the serial return button on the lower left-hand corner is just a minor enhancement that we have done, and this is targeting clients who actually sells items with serial numbers. So what the intent of this is, we are just identifying which customer it is that's doing the return, and then we are using the serial number to find the invoice to return. So instead of starting off with an invoice number and returning, uh, we've just reversed that flow to scan the serial number to find the invoice automatically and post a return. So the goal here is just to simplify the routine for the end user. So imagine if your customer is selling, just for example, mobile phones. So as they sell those phones, each serial number has to be tracked in Sage. And now when they return one, you don't really want to look for which invoice was it recorded against. So this routine can help. So just know that it is there if you need it as part of the barcode OE module. Now, at this point, let's talk about stock count. So for stock count, we do have several ways of doing it, but the out of the box stock count of Sage is supported. So just to quickly demonstrate this, let's go back to the desktop of inventory control. Most of you would be very familiar with the physical inventory routine of Sage. And you know that prior to a stock count, you have to generate a worksheet. So this is, for example, location one from item. I'll just limit it to a certain range of item here. And obviously, we don't want to default quantity on hand. So this is something that we want the app to capture for us. So this worksheet has now been generated. And then in Sage, what you would do or what you were doing before would be printing out a count sheet, asking the warehouseman to walk around, count, write on a piece of paper, and then somebody has to encode all of that into this physical inventory quantity worksheet. So that's obviously not very ideal. So what we now want to do is with the barcode module, the moment we have a inventory worksheet generated, I can then go into the barcode stock count user interface, see the same information, and then walk around, scan items as needed. So for example, if I scan A11030, maybe I saw 50. And then for A1105, maybe I saw 70. So this is just the counter going into the system, populating the count sheet. Uh, what I want to highlight here is a limitation of Sage. So now what happens if we have items that are locked or serial tracked? So in Sage, we are not able to count by lot or count by serial. So that is the warning message that we are showing right now on the screen. So if for A1900G, maybe I saw 20 or let's say 90, but I'm not able to capture the lot. I'm only counting the total 90. At this point, maybe I need to go on a coffee break. I can post, and the system will ask us whether we are adding to a prior count, accumulating our stock count, or if there was a mistake and you are effectively trying to change or override it. So it's almost always add until somebody makes a mistake to override. So this is now adding the count sheet. And if we go back now to Sage and just refresh the physical inventory quantities, you would see now that the barcode app has effectively populated the quantity counted field in this screen. Now, going back to the lot tracked item, what do we mean by the limitation? So you can see that our cutoff quantity in Sage is 93. In this example, I counted 90. There is a variance of 3. If you go into Sage and try to put in a lot detail for that stock count, you would notice that the system is not asking you which lots were counted. Rather, Sage is asking only what is missing or what is in excess, if that is the direction of the variance. So this is the variance. And I need to tell the system, maybe this lot has that variance of 3. So that is the issue or the limitation of Sage. So for the user to be able to come up with this input, it just means that they are actually writing all of the lots that they have counted down to a piece of paper or a record somewhere. Compare versus what is in Sage to know where the variance is, and then input it back to Sage 300 as a variance. So obviously that is not ideal. So this is the main limitation of Sage 300 physical inventory. But of course, if our client doesn't need lot serial, then it doesn't matter. Then the physical inventory routine works just fine. The moment our client has a lot serial requirement, this makes it very difficult for them to use the physical inventory routine. Another key limitation of physical inventory is that we are doing it by location. So we need to do it. By that, what I mean is, as long as this location is open, we cannot reconcile. We have to wait for the whole location to be fully counted before we can post an inventory reconciliation to close the physical count. So that could be a problem for clients with a very large number of items and for clients who want to do daily counts. So it could be that I want to do cycle counting, A1, A2, A3 items being counted every day across different locations. So that cannot be supported in physical inventory. They can only do the count by location. So I'm just highlighting those limitations so that you know why we actually chose to enhance the physical inventory routine of Sage. So let's now move to that uh, topic. So I'll just close the screen. I'll log out from barcode. I need to activate our advanced stock take module. So that means I need to also restart IIS because the barcode app is holding on to the LAN pack of Sage, and this will prevent us from activating. So with that, we come back to Sage Desktop, Admin Services, Data Activation. This is now showing you the option in AutoSimply to add AutoSimply StockTake 7.2 and then activate. So this is a optional module built on top of inventory control with the goal of replacing the standard physical inventory routine of Sage 300. After we activate, it actually appears under the inventory control module stack. And then for the setup, the only thing we need to do is user master and options. So for options, we need to tell the system how how to calculate cycle counts, grouping, valuation. So this is a ABC uh, percentage. So A would be the top items that we need to count as regular as possible. C would be not as important, maybe count periodically once a year, half a year. And then what is the definition of A? So maybe it is value based, 50% of my inventory should be A, and then maybe 30% B, 20% C. Or I can also base it off the usage. So based on historical usage of that item. So the top maybe 60 is A, 30 is B, 10 is C. So something like this. So this is just to guide the system as to how to rate items on an ABC classification. The next setup that we need to do is user master. So this is just so that we have a way to track who is counting uh, on the desktop or counting using a barcode. So one quick thing to highlight here is for the advanced stocktake module, even though we consider it as part of barcode because most clients will use it together with barcode, it can actually stand alone. So if the client still wants to do counting manually, they just want the features of being able to input lots and doing cycle count, it is possible to just get advanced stocktake. But we need to know who are the counters. So maybe this is counter one. And what linked user in Sage do I use? Right now, I'm just using admin, so I'll just use this one. And then I have here the cycle count group maintenance. So this is essentially A1, A2, maybe B1, B2. So you can create any number of groups that you want. And if you want to do cycle counts, we do have a automatic cycle count generator. So I can look at all locations based on the percentage we defined a while ago, automatically rank items from A1 to A2000, B1 to B3000, C1 to C10,000. And then that's how the items are ranked. We can then assign them to the cycle count groups that we created a while ago and count by group if we wanted to do that. But for today, I'll just skip that part and just focus on creating a worksheet for this item. So now this is the generate worksheet for stock take. Again, I'll limit it to location one. I'll use the same range of items as a while ago, A1 1030 and A1 900G. So I can then generate a worksheet or count sheet. Notice now that we have a batch number, stock count number one. So that means I can count after I'm done with stock count one, reconcile that batch independent of other batches that may be working on the same location. So this is now overcoming that limitation of Sage. Notice that I can also, once if we were doing it by cycle count group, it could be that I want to count A1 items daily, A2 items weekly, A3 items monthly. So I can just call them out by count, cycle count group by location. But at this point, we now have created an inventory worksheet. This is batch number one. These are the items to be counted. So aside from the batch number, it's similar to the Sage physical inventory routine. Let's now go into the barcode module. On the user master, we need now to link our barcode user to the stock count user. So this is now uh, count user one linked to barcode user one. This is just so that the system knows that when the scanners are being used, who is the counter from the stock take perspective. At this point, I can go back to the barcode, log in again in our test company one, and then do a stock count. So this is now stock count. We now have two choices, AT stock count, IC stock count. So let's use AT stock count. I can check which worksheets are available. There's only one right now. And this is now what we are counting. So again, if we are counting 50 here, 60 here, the primary difference now is when I count lot tracked items or serial tracked items, I now have a means to count by lot. So ideally, I scan lot input quantity, scan lot input quantity. Just to make it fast today, I'll use the search icon. So maybe I counted two here, three there, five here, and six here. So this is now what we are counting, and it is by lot, by serial. All right. Okay. So let's ignore that one. So this is just updating our count. And then when I post, I can add. And another key feature of advanced stocktake is that if I go now to the inventory worksheet, I need to close and refresh the screen. You can see that I can see the count inputted by the user, but I have an audit trail of that as well. So in the IC physical inventory routine, the input of barcode is only updating the total count. So the system only tracks the count. But in the advanced stocktake module, we actually have built in an audit trail for that stock count, for that item record. So we know initially it was zero. After counter one has done its job, at this timestamp, it was increased to 50. So what it means is if, let's say, there was any discrepancy found out later on, we would be able to look at an item, see how it was counted, and probably trace why it went wrong. So maybe there was double counting, or maybe somebody did not count something. But based on that history of who, when, what item total count, we would have a something to trace, to check against. So that is the third uh, benefit of using advanced octane. The fourth one is, notice now on the barcode side, we have the option to download and upload advanced stock take counts. So I won't go through it in detail anymore, but the idea here is in cases where our client may have stock in warehouse floors that doesn't have uh, Wi-Fi connectivity, they can actually count using this option. So they can download the worksheet to their device, count, come back in, and then upload. Another possible usage could be situations where maybe the client has consigned goods. So maybe they would have a monthly check of goods held by their customers or distributors. They can download again the information into their phones, go out, scan, and then come back to upload into barcode. So this is supported. That's the only offline function that barcode supports currently. Everything else that I have shown you today has to have a connection to Sage, a live connection to Sage. All right. So just again to recap, we have already shown you how to do barcode. Uh, Additional enhancements we have done on top of the Sage Core feature in terms of transfer order, pending receipt, pick, pack, and stock count. So that's some of those are the main features that we want to highlight for barcode. But beyond that, we need to just go back before I forget to the user master of inventory barcode here. And I just want to highlight a couple of things. So first, do note that for barcode, we do have the means to add a record level security. So for each barcode user, we can define under the location tab in the user master of barcode which locations can be accessed by this user. So it just makes sense that maybe somebody in Toronto should not be receiving for Vancouver. So that is something that can be set up. This is on top of the standard user security of Sage, right? So you know that in Sage, outside of third-party products, you cannot have a record level security. So this is something that is supported in the barcode user master. I wasn't showing it a while ago, but if I save this and go back to the app and just refresh, so now go back, log in as user one. Let's say if I do an internal usage for the item location search, if I'm looking for a location, there is actually no option 3 or 4. So only 1 and 2 based on what is assigned to that user. So that is the user security side of it. Another quick thing to highlight here would be form and label printing. So just like Sage, core functionality, after you post a transaction, let's say PO receipt or a shipment, Sage typically would ask, do you want to print the shipment form, the receipt form? So we can also trigger that printing on barcode by linking a user to a printer. So this allows us to say that somebody in Toronto, when they do a PO receipt, would then trigger a printing of a printer in Toronto, something like that. The same for label. So if we want to trigger a printing of label, we can link this user to a printer and then trigger the printing of a label upon posting of receipt. So you can see on this screen how the label printing is linked to PO receipt, IC receipt, MO receipt. If you can imagine, let's say a client, some clients, they would be using mobile printers. So this is why they need users to be linked to the printer so that as they receive, the labels are generated, they can stick it to the package or the item already. Now, a minor enhancement we have done on version 7.3 is again a minor option to hide costs. So most of the screens in barcode don't actually have costs, but some would have it. For example, the IC shipment. So standard Sage have price cost information. So if you want to hide it, you can actually do that on the user master as well of of barcode. Okay. Uh, and then one other quick thing is notice that we do have an option for count users. So let me just go back to the registration of barcode here. So we were talking about users a while ago, and those are full concurrent users of barcode. They can receive, they can ship, they can transfer, they can count. Do note that we do have a limited stock count user license. So we sell this in sets of four. Obviously, it's cheaper, but compared to a full user license, a stock count user is named users, and then they can only do stock count. So when we set up the user master in barcode, if this user was meant to be a count only user, I should be checking this checkbox here. So that means I can create some of our clients, they will have 20 regular full users of barcode. And then on periodic basis, maybe they would suddenly have 30 more people logging in just to do stock count. So that the limited stock count user is meant for that. It's a cheaper user license, but it's named and limited only to stock count. All right. So those are just some housekeeping things that I want to highlight. Now, for the last 10 minutes of today's barcode session, I also want to quickly show you GS1. So GS1, as we said, it's a standard barcode standard, globally supported. We have a barcode GS1 module. So if the client opts to have a GS1 barcode module, it allows them to read, scan barcodes with GS1 information and auto-populate those data into Sage. So to demonstrate that, I need to be able to scan. So to do that, let me just quickly share the screen of my phone here. All right. So you can see that I'm actually just casting my phone to my laptop so that I can have a scanner with me. And then on the website a while ago where we were generating labels, what I would do is now generate a GS1 QR code, whereby let's say we want to use our A1900G item. But before that, I have to go into barcode options. I skipped several options a while ago just to highlight how easy it is to set up, but of course some needs to be set up still. So for example, for GS1, do I want to use internal item number or not? If yes, which AI ID would I be using? So I'll just use 921 here and save. Notice how we can add optional fields to capture GS1 data in the form of production date, due date, packaging date, best before date. So we just pre-selected some commonly used parameters for lot serial tracking. We know that in Sage, the only date that we are tracking is stock date, which of course we will store automatically, and expiry date. So when we talk about GS1 in Sage, typically it's the item, the lot, the serial, the expiry date, quantity. But we can add more if needed. So that's what I'm showing you right now. So we are using 9.1 for internal code. So going back to the website to generate the label, this is 9.1 A1900G. This is the item code internally to us. If we wanted to use a real GTIN, so a number that is really registered with the global GS1 body, it would be 01 and then a 14-digit number. That is the GS1 number. But if our goal is just to use GS1 internally so that we can scan our lots fast enough to Sage. So now this is a function 10. This is the lot number. And let's say I want to create 01001 April. This is my lot number. And refresh. Okay, so I think it already refreshed. And we can now go back to my phone and then log in to BarCode. So you cannot see it because it's trying to hide the screen for login. But you can see because I'm connecting my phone to my laptop, I need to put in the IP address of my PC. And then I want to log in here, user one, test 01, login. So yes, so I'm just killing my user on the screen, on the desktop. And assuming this has already refreshed, I can then try to do, let's say, IC receipt instead of manually inputting information. I can just scan. And you can see that with one scan, this is now able to capture my item number. Inside, it knows there is a lot 01001 April with a quantity of 1. So that is a example of a GS1 scan. All right. So let's do another example. So I'll generate another lot 01002, and then let's add more information here. So let's say I want to put quantity 10. So this is now another GS1 code that if I scan allows me to increase the quantity now. You can see it's 11. So it's 1 plus 10. If I go into that item detail, it's actually detecting that I have another information here for batch number 2, quantity of 10. So instead of scanning one time for the item, scanning a second time for the lot or serial number, GS1 allows us to combine it in one go. And the content is depending on what values are put into that GS1. So imagine now if you have an item which is lot track, serial track with expiry date, you can then scan that quite easily in Sage using barcode GS1. So if we use this, or if we are able to convince our client to use GS1, the moment they scan it into their system, it benefits everything else that follows. So after PO receipt, imagine now doing stock count using GS1 scans. When you do the OE shipment, it will also be telling you specifically which lot, which item is being shipped. So it's of course benefiting them greatly. If we are using 01, which is the official GS1 identification, you are actually even able to benefit the whole supply chain after you. So imagine now your customer scanning your GS1 label to feed it into their own ERP system. That means the whole supply chain will benefit from the use of this tool. So that's just a very quick demonstration of what the GS1 module can do if we activate it. Right now we're down to like 3 minutes, so I won't anymore go into the bin tracking side of it. But just know we support Orchid bin tracking, and if you activate bins, we would be able to scan bins as well. All right. So I think for the last remaining 2 minutes, I'll turn it back to you, Rob.
Okay,
We'll,
thanks, Terrence. We do actually have a question
oh,
about
sure.
that. When we have a customer that's using Orchid bin tracking,
Mhm.
um, would they use stock take? And can you sort of compare and contrast?
Ah, all right. Yep, that's a very good question. I forgot to highlight that. So if the client is using Orchid bin tracking, then bin tracking already have their own bin count function. So we support bin count as well. So that would be the third option how to do stock count in the barcode. First is physical inventory in Sage. Second is advanced stock take. Third is bin count. Now, the key thing to highlight here is if you are using Orchid bin tracking, you should not be using the advanced stock take anymore. So that would be a duplication. So either use bin tracking with the bin count or use advanced stock take. It cannot coexist. All right.
Great, thank you. We did have an earlier question about can you use packing without the pick list? In other words, shipping with packing or auto create the pick.
Uh, we do have clients who do it as a customization. So that right now that would have to be customized for the client. But we do recommend using picking anyway.
Great. And when you were talking about the pending receipt function on a PO receipt, is there the ability for the back office to add additional costs?
Uh, Not during the pending receipt. So the additional cost processing remains the same. That is tied to the receipt transaction or the invoice transaction in Sage. So the quick answer, pending receipt doesn't have additional cost. You need to post it first before you input additional cost.
So it would be possible after you post the PO receipt to
Correct.
process inbound containers and add freight duty brokerage fees.
Yeah, so nothing, not on that part, nothing will change. They have to do the additional cost within the Sage desktop screen.
Great.
Mhm.
And then
And
last
that
question.
is the back office transaction, so we don't consider it as a barcode transaction. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much. And the last question we had was when you were showing the quick scan in the context of an SO shipment or a PO receipt, does it just find the relevant line based on item number?
Uh, yeah, my guess is what the client, what they are asking is when you scan something, it's you're not looking for it against you're not searching and looking for a record. The scan itself jumps to that record. So the scan is the fastest way to input in Sage. So what I mean is using the app, you can type it in, you can search, but if you are using a scanner, the moment you scan the barcode, it knows exactly what record you're talking about and populate it automatically. Was
Great.
that the question?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what it meant.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
All right. And that is the end of the questions for this session. Just a reminder that this has been recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. So you will be able to review all of the content for each of the sessions as we're going through the training session today and tomorrow. So at this point, we're going to stop and take a break for 30 minutes. And we welcome you to rejoin the next session, which is going to cover the mobile sales solution called Sales Anywhere for tracking OE orders, shipments, invoices, AR invoices, dunning messages, payments, and customer history. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.